Tonight, we're going to hear from one of my heroes. John Maxwell, God used him to change my leadership. When the church was growing, one of the things that was happening was I was exhausted. The church is growing, and the church gets, to about 4,000 people, and I'm just tired, and I'm hiring consultants, and they're telling me this. They're saying, John, you're the king of 1,000 servants. These people love you, and they'll do anything you ask as long as you ask them to do it. And you're doing the thinking for everybody because, John, you've made a mistake. You never raised up leaders. And so when I heard that, I knew I've got to change how I'm doing things. And John Maxwell was speaking at Indianapolis, and you offered the people there, it's I think 300 leadership lessons, and it was on cassette tape. And I bought it, and it had the notebooks, it had all of and I taught almost all of them. I listened to all of them, taught almost all of them, but instantly said, I'm gonna develop a culture of building leaders. And it was your insight, it was your material that changed my ability to lead and develop leaders. The church would not be what it is without you. And so I want to say thank you because of what you've done. For me, what you've done, really, when you look here today, Dr. Maxwell, this is fruit from your ministry. He is a leadership, he's the number one leadership teacher of leadership in the world. Sold almost 40 million books on leadership. And we've given some of you a book. If you haven't read his material, it is excellent. If you're a business leader, it will help you to grow the lid on your life and your business in a way that will not only bring blessing to you, but bring blessing to people as you develop them. But John, I'm so grateful for you. I can't believe that you're here tonight. Honestly, this is amazing for me. So would you join me in welcoming one of my heroes, Dr. John Maxwell. Let's welcome him to James River.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, that was, thank you, John. Your words touched me very much. I didn't know that until you just shared about that kit you're talking about. It was like 300 tapes. And I remember when my team said we ought to make that available to Pastor, I said, nobody will buy 300 tapes, including me. I wouldn't buy my own tape. But we started a tape club, the Enjoy Life Club, and I would teach my staff leadership. I was pastoring in San Diego at that time, and I would teach my staff leadership, and we'd record it, and it would go out. And in 4 years, 100,000 people were getting that tape and were learning leadership. And I had no idea that I'd be able to help that many people or lives would be changed. Isn't it incredible how God just does exceeding abundantly? More than we could ever ask or think. I mean, I couldn't do a goal-setting seminar with integrity because God has done so much more for me than what I could have ever thought or imagined or laid out like a goal for my life. And so I'm grateful. And I have to tell you, I had a wonderful time today with a lunch with some of you, and I'm here with you tonight, and I just sense an incredible warmth and a beautiful presence of the Lord among you. And I've had some really time with your pastors, Brandon and John and David. And I just want you to know, I'm around leaders, I do leadership. You have you really have great leaders in this church. I mean, you have great leaders. I mean, humongous. Yeah. Yeah. I spent time with those three, and I give them the John Maxwell Leadership Seal of Approval. Whatever that means, and whatever that's worth, okay? But I'll have to say, John, I'm so glad I came here. I'm so glad. I would have missed out not being with you and with your people. I'm just grateful. I've just been nourished a little bit. I don't get around Christians a lot. I hang with lost people. That's a whole different thing. But when I left the pastor, I crossed over to a lost world of business, and I love sharing my faith, and I just, so most of the time I'm hanging with sinners, and you know, that's my love. But every once in a while, it's nice to hang with Christians. Not often. I don't want to overdo it. You understand? Because my call is to the lost. You with me? And I just feel I can promise you, man, if I lived in this area, this would be my church. This would be my church, no doubt about it. I'm very grateful that we had time together today. And thank you for having me. And thank you for having me. The video tonight was beautiful. It was done so well. Somebody knows what they're doing in the media area, that's for sure. It was done very well. And to have people of a generous spirit and giving, to have those people come in and say thank you, and them to see right in front of themselves where that money goes and how that gives a return to the kingdom was extremely touching to me. And I thought, you know, you're blessed. You're really blessed to be in this church. You know that? You know, I promise you, you're blessed. Most people don't get an environment like this. You know, honestly, I've come to the conclusion there's no place like this place anywhere near this place. So this must be the place, huh? James River. I mean, just it's like, wow, when you people go to heaven, you're going to want to come home on the weekends, aren't you? just the weekend, just not long. Just I'll be back. You know, just man, kind of just a day or two is all I'm asking. I love being around generous people. I love being around people who live in a life of abundance. And you know, Jesus said, I'm come that you might have life, comma, and have it more abundantly. And the question I have for people all the time is, which side of the comma do you live on? Do you live on the life or the abundant life side? And you truly are living on the abundant life area. So I'd like to talk to you this evening about 4 perspectives about possessions. And perspective is really important. You know, how we view things is how we do things. And so when a person has a perspective, it becomes their world. Trust me. If you have a perspective that's a scarcity mindset, honestly, you live in a scarcity world and you get scarcity. It's a real world. It's not a fake world. It's what you get. And if you live in abundance, and outside of sharing my faith, which is by far my first love, if there was be anything that I could do and help people, I would sit them down and I would talk to them about their mindset. Because I think the biggest gap between people who do really incredible in life and people who don't do so well is this perspective, this mindset gap of how we think. And I just love to help people begin to understand and begin to think right. and to get the right perspective. I was just with Joyce Myers a couple weekends ago for a large conference she had in Charleston. And, she's done such an incredible job in her teaching on perspective. And I just love helping people just see more and get better. But let me just read you something humorous for a moment that will help you on perspective. Let me read to you from a dog's diary, and then let me read to you from a cat's diary. If you don't think perspective matters, hang on. A dog diary. 8 a.m., dog food, my favorite thing. 9 a.m., a car ride, my favorite thing. 9:40, a walk in the park, my favorite thing. 10:30, got rubbed and petted, my favorite thing. Noon lunch, my favorite thing. 1 p.m., I played in the yard, my favorite thing. 3 p.m., I wagged my tail, my favorite thing. 5 p.m., milk boats, my favorite thing. 7 p.m., played ball, my favorite thing. 8 p.m., wow, watch TV with the people, my favorite thing. 11 p.m., sleeping in my bed, my favorite thing. Excerpts from a cat's diary. Day 983 of my captivity. Oh, shoot. My captors continue to taunt me with bizarre little dangling objects, and the only thing that keeps me going is my dream of escape. That's the difference in perspective right there. Same home, different perspective. So there's the story that we know very well of the Good Samaritan. An attorney came to Jesus and asked the question, who's my neighbor? And Jesus told this story, and if you'll allow me, give me about 90 seconds. Let me read it to you. I know you know it well. And then let me teach from this story 3 of the 4 perspectives about possessions. Jesus said a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. And a priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey and brought him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper and said, look after him, and when I return I will reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have. Then Jesus looked at the attorney and asked the question, which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And the expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. And Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Very familiar story. In this story, there are 3 perspectives about possessions. Let's look at the robber first. The robber's perspective about possessions is that what is yours is mine, and I'm going to take it. That's what robbers do. What's yours is mine, and I'm going to take it. And when I give the robber's perspective, immediately every one of us in the room look at that and say, well, yeah, that's what robbers do, and thank God I'm not a robber. And we do thank God that you're not a robber. But we're born robbers. We're born robbers. We're born in sin. And sin is selfishness. If you don't think that you're born a robber and selfish, have you ever looked at property law from a toddler's perspective? If you're a toddler, here's how you look at possessions. If I like it, it's mine. If I could take it away from you, it's mine. If I had it a while ago, it's mine. If I say it's mine, It's mine. If it looks like mine, it's mine. If you're having fun with it, it's mine. If you lay down your toy, it's mine. If it's broken, it's yours. All of us. We got robber in us. It's just who we are. We just get a little greedy, kind of, yeah, this is too, but I'm not going to stay on the robber because, I think we've passed that. We've passed that. But the second perspective is of the Levite and the priest. Their perspective is extremely common with people. As they view life and they view possessions, here's what they think. What is mine, and I'm going to keep it. It's mine. Jesus told the story. The priest came down, the Levite came down, and when they saw the man, they passed by on the other side. They didn't want to be inconvenienced by somebody that was hurting. What's mine is mine. It's mine. And I'm going to keep it. I have a wonderful friend that told me a cute story recently about his son. His son's 9 years old and loves McDonald's French fries. And so one Saturday morning, his son said, Dad, can we go to McDonald's? And so Dad, gets him in the car, and they go to McDonald's, and he orders him a big pack of those McDonald's fries, and they sit down at the table, and Dad starts to smell those fries. Now, McDonald's fries are special. Just between you and me, I think they'll have those in heaven without calories. But they're special. They're very special. And Dad started smelling those fries, and he just reached over and to get a couple fries out of his son's pack. And as soon as he got his hand on his fries, his little boy grabbed his hand and pushed him back and said, No, Dad. He said, you can't have any of those fries. Those fries are mine. And he told me, he said, I pulled my hand back, and I was kind of like in small shock, and I looked at him, and I thought, did my son just say, these fries, you can't have these fries are mine? And he said, immediately as a father, 3 things came to my mind. Number one is my son doesn't understand where those fries come from. I'm the source of those fries. Without me, he has no fries. I'm the one that put him in the car and took him. I'm the one that went up there and bought those fries. I'm the one. He doesn't understand with that attitude and that perspective. He doesn't understand. I'm the reason he's got those fries. I'm the source. He said he also doesn't understand that I can take those fries from him. I could look at a father and say, if you're going to have that kind of attitude, son, you don't get any of those fries. I have the power to take those fries from him, and he has no fries. Or he said, if I wanted to, I could go over and order 50 packs of fries and bury him in fries. I could just bury. As soon as he talked about burying him in fries, I thought, what a way to go. Wouldn't that be something? You go to heaven and they say, how did you die? Well, I was at McDonald's. And they just buried me in those McDonald's fries. 3 people came to rescue me, and I pushed them off. I just pushed them off. Yeah, Dad said he doesn't understand. I'm the source. He doesn't understand that I've got the power to take those fries from him. He said the third thing he doesn't understand is I don't need his fries. I can go get my own fries. I've got the ability. I'm not dependent on him to give me any of those fries. If I want to, I can go over there and I can get a pack. I can sit and eat my fries. He can sit and eat his fries. And then he said, what bothered me as a father was his selfish perspective. No, Dad, you can't have any of these. These fries are mine. Now, let me just say this. Selfishness and significance are incompatible. A significant life is one that adds values to others. A selfish life says what's mine is mine. and I'm going to keep it. Oh, my. I had a lady just recently come up to me, and I was talking a little bit about significance and selfishness, not this teaching, but another one. And she came up to me and she said, I just want you to know that I heard that teaching, and she said, I'm just glad to report that I'm not a selfish person. And I smiled, and I'm thinking as I look at her, no, you're not selfish, you're highly delusional. Well, what do you mean you're not a selfish person? We're all selfish. If you don't think you're selfish, let me ask you a question. If you're in a group picture, and they show you the picture, who is the first person? When you look at that group picture, who is the first person you look for? Come on, talk to me. And you look through that, and you look at yourself. And by the way, if you look good, you say, great picture, great picture. Send it to me. Oh, I love that picture. Oh, that's such a good picture. Oh, I love that picture. And hey, if you don't look good, you go, oh, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. You do this good. Everything is determined by how you look, and you're not selfish. Wow. Somebody asked me recently, they said, well, how do I really do great things for the kingdom? I said, well, that's very simple. Get over yourself. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. It's not my kingdom, not my will. It's not my show. Just get over yourself. If you want to do something great, just get over yourself. Honestly. I tell people all the time, you ought to laugh at yourself more because everyone else is. Yeah, just, in fact, I about 2 years ago, a man who owns a writing company in Nashville came to me and said, I built my company in 20 years off of your books. And he said, I think you ought to put your books to music. And I said, well, I never thought of that before. And I'm not really a musician and all. He said, no, you take the book and write the words, and I'll take you to Nashville, and we'll put you in the room with great musicians, and we'll do some songs. And so I took him up on it, and literally they put me in a room with people that had #1 hits all over the place, and I'm way out of my league. I have a saying sometimes that when you're at the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. And I love that statement, and I think that's true, but I shouldn't have been in the class. I'm way over my head, and so, but they let me in the room, and we started thinking about, and we took one of my books, and we started doing some lyrics, and so we got a song. Well, we got 4. I think I got 4, maybe 5 songs out now, and I'm just about to have a $1 million seller, which is kind of fun. For somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, but I wrote a song called "Get Over Myself." And the chorus just simply says, I have to find myself to know myself, and I have to know myself to be myself, and I have to be myself to improve myself so I can get over myself, so I can give myself to you. You can't give yourself to anybody until you get over yourself. The priest and the Levite are never going to live a significant life because when they have an opportunity, they pass by on the other side. Proverbs 11:24, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. I thought of that when I watched the video. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And you are giving generously, and all of a sudden these lost people are coming in, and they're refreshing you from your, and you refresh them, and now it's returning back to you. So 2 perspectives so far. The robbers, what's yours is mine, I'm going to take it. The priest Levi, what's mine is mine, I'm going to keep it. The 3rd perspective is the Good Samaritan. And the Good Samaritan's perspective is very simple. What is mine is yours, and I'm going to give it. That's a beautiful perspective. What's mine? He looked at the guy that had been robbed. So what I have, you can have, and here I've got some wine and oil, and I'll bandage you up. I'll put you on my donkey. I'll take it. What's mine is yours, and I'm going to give it. Now, what I want you to understand is, all three, the priest, the Levite, the Good Samaritan, they all went to the same place, and they all saw the same thing. They all saw that there was a problem. They all saw an opportunity to help solve the problem. And by the way, they all had a reason not to help the man at all, because again, wow, to help somebody is to be inconvenienced. That's why in generosity and in giving, there always has to be deeply rooted in that generous person a spirit of servanthood. You see, if I see you as hurting, I'll help you. If I see you as broken, I'll fix you. But if I see you as valuable, I'll serve you. Yeah, that was good. If I see you as hurting, I'll help you. If I see you as broken, I'll fix you. But if I see you as valuable, I'll serve you. And when we begin to see people as valuable, souls valued so greatly that Jesus would give his life for them. When we begin to see people as valuable, it changes everything. I have a coaching company. It's the largest coaching company in the world, and every 6 months we bring 2,000 or 3,000 of the new coaches that just have joined our team to Orlando, and we have 3 days of training with them. And one of the things I do for all the new coaches is I have about a 2-hour teaching on the DNA of a John Maxwell coach. What's a John Maxwell coach look like? And the first thing that I teach them is that we are people of value who value people and add value to them. That's who we are. We're people of value. We're God's children who value people, and we show that we value people by adding value to them. Now, I've given you 3 perspectives, but there's a 4th one. And this 4th perspective is awesome. And I always have my desire in this kind of a teaching setting with people that are already incredibly generous like you, to take you to maybe, not for sure, but maybe, probably you're there, I don't know, to a level that is totally life-changing and transformational. So let me give you perspective number 4 about possessions. What is mine is not mine, and I'm going to manage it. That's huge. What's mine, it's not mine, and I'm going to manage it. You see, the reason people are not generous is because they think their stuff is theirs, and it's not yours. It's not mine. What's mine is not mine. And because it's not mine, I don't own it. I just manage it. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all who live in it. It's not ours. It's not ours. I was teaching this lesson one time, and before I went out to teach, I've had a gentleman that was going to be in the teaching, and I reached in and I gave him a $100 bill, and I just handed it to him, and I said, there's going to be a time in my teaching that I'm going to ask for somebody to bring me $100, and if you'll just come up quickly and just hand me the $100 and go back to your seat, I'll appreciate that. And he said he would, and so there came a time where I said, I've got to take some friends out to eat, and all of a sudden realize I don't have my credit cards with me, and I need somebody to help me, and would somebody just bring me $100? And this guy steps out and hands me the 100. I put it in my pocket, and I thank him. He goes back and sits down. And everybody's going, what just happened? Maxwell asked for $1,000. The guy reached up there, gave it to him, and went back to his seat. So I just let him ponder that for a moment and just feel that kind of emotionally. And then I looked at him and I smiled and I said, let me explain something to you. The reason he came so quickly to hand me the $100 is that it wasn't his money. It wasn't his money. You see, I gave it to him in the back room before we came out. It's my money. It's not his money. And so when I asked for somebody to bring me $100, he just brought it to me because that's the easiest. I mean, it wasn't his money. Don't miss this. Generosity and stewardship is lordship. When you let Jesus be the Lord of your life, you begin to understand that stuff is not your stuff. And the moment that I understand it's not my money, then my attitude about giving is totally different. Our battles with possessions and giving and generosity are all settled once we realize it's not our stuff. Until you don't settle, if you don't settle that in your life, you're going to have a tug of war every time you should give, and every time you get a generous impulse, you'll stymie that impulse because you'll think, oh my, I don't know if I can really. You see, you don't understand. It's not your money. Let me teach it in a different way. I was pastoring in San Diego for several years, and God really blessed us and helped us, and I think we had maybe the 8th largest church in America there. And my books were doing really well. I was starting to write, and they were doing pretty good too. And I had a wonderful mentor. I'm very blessed. I've had great men and women pour themselves into my life. I've been blessed by really good people who mentored me and helped me. And so I had a mentor who literally came from the East Coast, and we were clear out in California. And he said, I just want to hang with you for the weekend, and he did. And on Sunday morning, we didn't have satellite back then, so we didn't have the campus. We didn't have all the wonderful privileges that you have today with technology. And so literally, we were so full in our churches that we had the convention center in El Cajon, and we had our church. And the only way I could do it was I'd had 6 services on Sunday to handle the crowds, and so I would preach in the home church first, and then they'd do worship. And while they're doing worship, I'd get in the car and go to the convention center in El Cajon, and it was packed out, and they'd already had worship, and I would preach, and I'd go back, and I did that 6 times, back and forth, to be able to because we didn't have any technology. So anyway, I'd just hang in there. So we're finally, I'm exhausted. We go to the Brigantine restaurant in La Mesa for lunch. And so my mentor said, John, this may take a while today because I'm going to teach you a very important lesson. And he said, I really want to make sure that you receive it well and that I teach it well and that you learn. And what he taught me that day was life-changing for me. I can promise you that it was a pivotal moment for a kid that was, I was 35 at that time, I think. Pivotal moment. He looked at me and he said, I'll bet that a lot of people tell you that you're amazing, don't they? You'll preach a message, they'll come and say, oh my gosh, Pastor, you're just amazing. That was an amazing message. That was amazing. He said, I'll bet because I was already doing leadership stuff, and he said, I'll bet, in fact, I had just made the Amazon Hall of Fame for books or whatever, and he said, I'll bet you people when they read it, oh, that was amazing, oh, that you're amazing, and the book is amazing. And he said, do you hear the word amazing with your name? And I said, well, yeah, sometimes I hear amazing. Well, he said, that's why I'm here. He said, I'm here to tell you, you're not amazing. He said, in fact, there's nothing amazing about you. You're not amazing. He said, your giftedness is amazing. You're gifted off the charts. And he said, people look at you and they confuse you with your gifts. They see you operating your gifts and using your gifts, and they say, oh, isn't he amazing? Isn't that amazing? And he said, I want you to know it's your gifts that make you amazing, not you. He said, I want to make sure we understand this. So let me explain it this way. He said, you're one step from stupid. Now, when he said I was one step from stupid, honestly, I thought, couldn't he say a block from stupid? I mean, that you'd have to kind of walk a little way to go to stupid. He says, you're one step, stupid's right here with me. It's not like over there, it's right here. He said, you're one step from stupid. I said, I got it. I'm one step from stupid. He said, never forget this. You're not amazing, John. It's your gifts. And he said, by the way, they're called gifts. You didn't earn it. You don't deserve it. You're not better than somebody because you have it. He said, in God's sovereignty, he chose to give you those gifts. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't steward those gifts well, he can take them from you. The same God who gave them to you can pull them back. The only reason you got a big church is because you got a lot of gifts. And the only reason that your books are selling is because you got some gifts and right. He said, your gifts are amazing, but you're not amazing. And he said, if you can take that lesson to heart, he said, you'll never become prideful. You'll never become arrogant. He said, you'll just be a servant, a steward servant. And I promise you that day changed my life. That's why I don't use titles. My name's John. I'm your friend. I never allow myself to have the privileges that a lot of people would allow. My name's John, and I'm your friend. There's nothing amazing about me. But there's some amazing things about God and who he is and what he's done and how he has allowed me to have these precious gifts that he's given to me. But that day I walked out of the restaurant and I realized what's mine is not mine. It's not mine. I'm just going to steward it. At the age of 51, I had a heart attack. It was at our Christmas party. At that time, I'm now living in Atlanta, and we have already got 4 companies, and we're starting a 5th company, and we're down really at Turner Field where the old Atlanta Braves used to play in the restaurant that overlooked the field, and we were having a Christmas party with a couple hundred employees, and it was a wonderful, wonderful evening. And almost at the end of the evening, all of a sudden, somebody came to hug me to say goodbye, and they felt the back of my neck, and it was cold sweat. And they said, you got cold sweat? And I immediately said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And to make a long story short, I did have a heart attack. And they took me to the nearest hospital, which is a hospital in downtown Atlanta that, to be honest with you, it's not really a hospital for heart patients. It's if you've been in a fight and you've been shot, that's a good place to go, or you've been stabbed. But they didn't even have the ability to help me too much with my heart, but they put me there because that's the closest place. And for 3 hours, I struggled, and it's just an incredible story. In fact, my kids were there because they'd been at the party, and so they had my 2 kids come in and hug me because we just really thought maybe it was all over. It's an incredible story of God and what he did for me that night, but to skip the story and get down to my life, I had tremendous peace during that whole process. I was in great pain, but I had great peace. In fact, I said, can you give me any more morphine? They said, we can't give you any more. This is it. And so I asked the doctor, well, in fact, there were 4 doctors around me by this time, and I said, am I going to die? And they said, well, if you can't stop your heart attack, it's possible that you will die. And I was talking to God, and I was saying, I thought I had more to do. And that evening, I can promise you, in a 30-minute period of time, I realized that not only my possessions are not mine, and my gifts are not mine, but my life's not mine. I'm 78. I'm just a person that has been blessed by God. But I know that I don't have anything. It's all His. So a few years ago, my wife Margaret and I, we've been married for 56 years. But a few years ago, I said to her, I said, I think I want to give everything we have away before we die. So we talked about it and prayed over it for a couple of months. And she said, I think I like this. I think we should. So I got my wonderful friend Ron Blue, who's known in Christian circles as kind of almost like the father of stewardship. So I said, Ron, you're going to have to help us if I want to just be able to give it all away, because I have news for you. Maybe you don't know this, but you don't take it with you. So we adopted a theme, a simple theme: do your giving while you're living, so you're knowing where it's going. Isn't that beautiful? Just do your giving while you're living, so you know it's where you're going. And so we every year raise our standard of giving. Every year. That's my highest priority. Every at the end of the last week of every year, we sit down and say, now how much more can we give this year? What more can we do to do that? And we sat with our children. Now, by the way, we have 2 children, and I've taken care of them when they were young and had families. We helped them get settled in a home. We didn't pay off their home, but we got them in a home. We in other words, I've taken care of my kids. But I've also told my kids, let me explain something to you. You're not getting it when we die. You're getting some right now because you need it now. Do they need it when we die? By that time, their kids are growing. They need it now, so we're going to help you now, but we understand that we're going to give it all away. And we explained it to them, how it's going to work. And by the way, our children are incredibly, incredibly generous. They understand a giving lifestyle. So anyway, so we've talked about it often with our children, and they understand. The only thing that bothers the kids, really, or the only thing that comes up once in a while, is the kids will say, we love that, do your living, give me while you're living, and we know it's going, and we love all that, Dad, but you're going to give it all away before you die. Well, you don't know when you're going to die. We got a timing issue here. What happens if you give it all away and you're still alive? I said, that's no problem at all. I'm going to live with you. My gosh, look what I've already done for you. In fact, I hope I can live a couple years just to get some payback. I mean, dear Lord, I can hardly wait to be a pain in your butt. You know what I'm saying? I can hardly wait to do this. This will be huge. This will be huge. About 6 years ago, I got a little frustrated because every year we try to raise our standard of giving, and I had about 3 years of just not, I was raising it, but it was so small incrementally that it just didn't satisfy me at all. So I can remember it was about October, and I was already beginning to think of the next year. I lived very intentionally, and I was beginning to think of the next year, and I said, God, I'm not giving as much as I want to give yet, and I want you to teach me how I can give you more. Very clearly, he began to deal with me, and he said to me, John, in the next year, if I bless you unexpectedly with money, will you give it all to me? I said, yeah, I'll do that. If you can bless me unexpectedly, and I didn't know that was going to come, I'll give it all to you. So the year rolls in, and we're at about the middle of January, and I get a $38,000 check that I just thought, oh my gosh, I didn't expect this. And my first thought was, well, now what will I do with it? And God said, what do you mean? What will you do with it? It's not yours. It's mine. And I did what you did. I just laughed because I was in the habit of just saying, what will I do with it? And all of a sudden I know what I'll do with it. It goes into the kingdom. Now I'm not going to get more personal, only to tell you everything changed. Since that time, I've been able to give well over $1 million extra to the kingdom. Just because I said, see, God will give to you what he knows will flow through you. He wants us to be a river, not a reservoir. We don't hold that stuff. Hold on to that. No. He wants us to, freely I've received, freely I give. That whole process. And I just tell you that because I know you love God and you are beautiful people, and I just love you. This has been a highlight. I'll get on the plane and I'll go home, but I'll be so refreshed. And I won't wake up Margaret tonight. I probably won't be to the house till about 1. But boy, for breakfast tomorrow, I'm going to tell her about James River. I'm going to tell her about how beautiful you are. And then I'm going to tell her I challenged you to go to that 4th level. What's mine is not mine. And I'm going to steward it. May God take this message to your heart, and may you apply it, act on it, and be blessed by it. And remember, my name is John, and I'm your friend. Thank you very much.